Hey there, Anne Marie, anti-HR lady here. And how y'all doing? So we are now, what is it, a week, 2 weeks almost out from the election. I guess next Tuesday will be 2 weeks. And I'm assuming that we are all going back into the office or back in the office at this point and are already dealing with some of the shenanigans. And so I just wanted to do a quick video about how I would recommend you conduct yourself, especially those of us who are Black women in the workplace, in light of the election outcomes. You know, a certain sector of our demographics in the United States are really feeling themselves right now. And what I would recommend as we proceed with minding our business is making sure we're also doing that at work, right? So, you know, as you're back in the office, I always tell people you're hired to do a job, and first and foremost, you need to do your job. Always do your job, right? Make sure you're doing the job you were hired to do and that you're doing it at a high level, because that's why you're being paid. But once you're sure that you're doing your job, you don't need to be doing anything else. So that means that you need to be giving them their 8 hours at the highest level possible, and then you need to be going home. You need to not be giving them more than what they deserve to get for what they're paying you. And too many of us, especially those of us who are Black women, are so used to going above and beyond that we think it's normal, right? And it's not. We are so busy trying to prove that we belong in the room that we're always doing everybody else's job. More than one occasion when I was still on the plantation, because that's what I call it, I remember leaving jobs and finding out that after I left, they had to hire 2 people and split my job in half in order to be able to get it done, because when they tried to give it to one person, they couldn't do it. And that was because I had been doing so much work without even realizing it that had nothing to do with my job, really. I'd been doing all these extra things. And then, you know, over time, they put it into your job because you're doing it. And then they try to give it to one of their own and they can't handle it, right? So I would really encourage those of us who this resonates, what I just said resonates with, to stop trying to be superwoman. We are putting the cape down, and it's not just politically, right? We're also doing it at work. And this is not me telling people not to do their jobs, because somebody's going to come into my comments and say that I told people not to do their jobs. This is me saying not to do more than your job. This means you don't need to be answering emails on a Sunday afternoon. Boundaries, and I've talked about boundaries before on this channel. Many of us don't have any. And a lot of how we experience our workplaces is fueled not just by the usual, you know, racism, misogyny, and so on as women, Black women. It's also fueled by our lack of boundaries. And someone, as an aside, someone came into my comments and said, oh, you really need to stop talking about all this race stuff. Well, I'll make you a deal. I'll stop talking about race when white people stop being racist. How about that? But until that wonderful and blessed day comes, then I'm going to talk about what I'm talking about. Anyway, so when we go back to work, we need to do our jobs, but we need to make sure we're doing our actual jobs and not 2 other people's jobs plus our job. There really is no reward for going above and beyond in corporate America. They try to bamboozle you into believing that there is, but there really isn't, right? And those who they want to elevate, they will elevate. Those who they don't want to elevate, they won't elevate. So one of the things I really want to encourage us to do is to make sure we're doing our job at a high level, but then we go home and we mind our business. And we're not on the internet trying to see if somebody sent us another email. We're not having all these emails coming into our personal devices over the weekend when we should be spending quality time with our family and friends. So if that sounds like you, I would really encourage you, again, to put the cape down, get off the cross, let somebody else have the wood, and live a life that is not about what you do for a living, especially now. That goes double for the federal workers. The other thing is, if you are in a tenuous job position, whether it is because you feel that your job is engaging in discriminatory behavior, or you just work in a really hostile, discriminatory work environment, or you just work in a really hostile, toxic work environment. Now is the time to start thinking about doing something else. I would encourage all of us as Black people to get entrepreneurial, to get a side hustle. There is a gift that every single one of us have. Some of us have more than one gift, but everyone has at least one. Find a way to monetize that gift. Get a side hustle. I cannot emphasize this enough. Get a side hustle. Whatever it is that you love doing that you think no one would ever pay you to do, they probably would. Get a side hustle. Start getting information about whatever that thing is. Start doing your research. Google is free. Write a business plan. ChatGPT will do it for you. And start figuring out how you're going to put a little money aside. Sometimes it really doesn't take that much to start your side hustle. Okay? But now is the time to start thinking about other streams of income besides your federal job or some other job that you feel is not serving you well, right? I really would encourage us to really start to think about entrepreneurship, right? It's not easy, and I'm not gonna make it sound like it's easy because it is not easy. I run 2 businesses. It's not easy. It's hard, right? And it's especially hard when the community you're seeking to serve is your own people, because we don't always support each other. We don't. We are always down for when things are free, but we often don't want to pay each other for services. We'll run out and pay other people, are happy to pay other people's services, but for some reason, some of us never want to support each other financially. So it's not easy, especially when you have business models that center around your own community, but I still find it very rewarding in the end, and I'm still happy that my clients primarily are my community, right? But you have to have a plan and a strategy and really learn about how to run a business. All of these things are available on YouTube, right? Just about anything you need to know about starting a new business, you can find information on YouTube, right? So start doing your research, right? Put yourself on a timeline. If you know in a year or 2 you want to go do something else, start a side hustle. One of my biggest regrets is not starting my travel and style brand before I left my job and before I left the United States. Because I think about how well I could have been doing if I had started. And it's not that I hadn't thought about it, but I just did not actively take it seriously. And I feel like I should have, right? So I really would recommend that if you have something that you enjoy doing, I guarantee you there's an audience of people who are interested in it. You just have to find them, right? And so I really want us, especially Black women, and I know some of y'all don't like to hear me speak to Black women, but I'm a Black woman and that's who I make my content for primarily. So I'm sorry to all of y'all who don't like it. Not really. But anyway, but I would really encourage Black people generally and Black women specifically to, whatever that thing that came into your mind and you thought maybe I should turn that into a business, go turn it into a business. And it doesn't have to make money tomorrow, especially if you're working full time. You can start it on the side, right? But go find your audience. YouTube is a wonderful place to go find your audience. Instagram, not as great as YouTube, but it's another medium. So is TikTok if it's something that you want to talk about constantly. TikTok's good for that. But really and truly, I really encourage you guys to consider entrepreneurship, because there are rough times ahead, and how rough they're going to be, no one's going to really know until January 20, right? American media is, making these reports every day to keep everyone feeling stressed and, worried and so on. But the reality is he is not president yet, right? And so if there are things that you need to get done, start thinking about getting them done now. My concern is that I believe that the people coming into power literally want to break everything, right? They want to break everything, and then they want to say, oh, look, it's broken, blame somebody else, and then say, we're the only people who can fix it, without acknowledging that they're the ones doing all the breaking. And so I really think that there's a very, likely possibility that in a year, the government won't work the way people need it to. People can criticize the federal government and so on, but it works. When you put something in the mail, 9 times out of 10, it gets where it's supposed to go. When you go and put in for your benefits, 9 times out of 10, you get what you're supposed to receive. Sometimes it may take longer than it's supposed to take, but it still works. That could change, right? And so, for example, if you don't have a passport, and oh, my brothers and sisters, if you don't have a passport, please go get one. Like literally, stop this video and go get online and figure out how to get a passport. Get a passport. My dear brothers and sisters, please get a passport, okay? But do it now, because we don't know what the situation will be this time next year in terms of being able to get anything done efficiently, all right? And so I would really encourage people to do that. But I really want to say, as you go back to work, do your job, but just do your job. The other thing I want to say to you is, please socialize with your friends and family. Don't do it at work. There are no friends at work. Okay? There are no friends at work, especially now. Right? And so, because everyone comes to work with one motivation is getting paid, and then people have all other kinds of motivations. Even those that look like you are not necessarily your friends. And that's one of the hardest lessons sometimes that we have to learn at work. So your friendships need to be with your friends and family outside of work. When you come to work, do your job, do it well. Don't talk about politics. And if people in your office, especially those of the other persuasion, insist on bringing up the election and bringing up politics, write a note to file in your journal, which I expect you all should have a documentation journal at this point. You've been following me this long. Start documenting the comments that they make and the things that they say, but you don't respond. Don't get anyone to get you to talk about the election results, to discuss who you voted for, any of those things. Don't get into those conversations. I really believe in the next several years that a lot of white people are going to try to claim that Black people and other minorities are being racist towards them, right? They really want to make reverse racism a thing, but it's not a thing, because we don't have the power to create a structure that harms white people over any period of time. Are there Black people who are biased against white people? Absolutely. But is that like a big thing? No, it's not. And is it a systemic structural thing? Absolutely not. But they're going to try to make this a thing. You see the groundwork already being laid. So I highly recommend that if you are in the workplace trenches in the United States of America, just don't have those conversations with people. Don't have any of those conversations with people, and keep your work separate from your personal life, and never the twain shall meet. You can be polite and extremely professional at work and never ever discuss your personal life with people. I did it for a very long time. Don't discuss your personal life with people. There are people who didn't even know I had a child at home, because my business was my business and work was work. And you keep those two things separate, especially now, so that people cannot try to weaponize conversations or an offhand thing that you say and try to use it against you, right? And the first and foremost, I always tell people, do your job, treat everyone the same. And especially those of you who are in executive roles, I really feel a lot of you will get targeted in this way, right? Expect Black women, Black men. This is advice, especially for you. Don't have those conversations in the workplace. Don't talk about them. Don't talk about religion. Don't talk about the election. Don't talk about what your thoughts are about Palestine. Don't talk about immigration. Just tell people when they bring it up, you just tell them, I don't think that's an appropriate conversation for the workplace, and document it. And document it. So later, if they try to say you said something else, you can document what you actually said. People trying to talk about these issues in the workplace should be a red flag. And you just shouldn't have those conversations, right? And the holidays are coming, the Christmas parties are coming, the Thanksgiving celebrations, even the workplace are coming. So now is a time to tell you, as you go back to work and you're back in the workplace trenches, keep that in mind. Take your anti-HR ladies' advice. don't have those conversations. Keep your personal life separate from your work life and carefully document. I recently had someone come to me for help, and she had a coworker, actually someone that she supervised, contacted her off hours, had what she thought was an innocuous conversation, and then that person took that, sent her a text message, and then tried to use that text message to weaponize it and file a complaint against her. Okay? You have to be careful. You have to be careful, right? Because right now people will try to use the environment, right, to try to accuse Black people and other non-Black people who are not white. They will accuse Black and brown people, but especially target Black people and say that they're engaging in reverse racism and other things. So you have to be very careful. Do not have these conversations with people, because you can have what you think is an innocuous exchange at lunch or, at happy hour. Listen, happy hour, I don't even recommend doing happy hour, honestly, to be honest. I used to do happy hours with my team, but I had a drink limit and I had clear parameters about things that we could talk about. And this was a team that was my people, and we were great, and there was never any issues. And still I would try to be careful about what we talked about. And when things went off the beaten path, I would try to bring it back. Right. But in this environment that you guys are going into in the next year or 2 or 3 or 4 or however long it takes, I just think that we're going to have to be more careful as a group about how we interact with other demographics, especially the over 70% who voted for that guy, right? Those are the people who really believe that they are supposed to be at the top of the food chain alone and no one else, right? And they claim they voted for the economy, but those of us who know, right? And so I think it's very important for you to be careful in your workplaces, so that if you decide that you want to do something else or you're leaving on your terms and not somebody else's, based off of something someone made up and drummed up against you. Okay? So be careful as you go into those workplaces. Do your job. Don't be the mule that a lot of us Black women make ourselves to be in the workplace. Do your job, but don't do everybody else's job. Have boundaries, right? And be very careful in your interactions. Right? Don't allow people to be able to create narratives and make things up that don't exist, because I believe there will be a lot of that going forward. And as protections fall away for different groups of people, people will feel more comfortable trying to target people at work. And so you have to anticipate what might come. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. So you need to anticipate what might come and govern yourselves accordingly in the work environment. So don't treat work like an extension of your social life. Other people get to do that. We can't. Always remember that this is work. These people are my coworkers. These people are my colleagues, but they're not my friends. They're not my family. Your job is not your family. And so I don't care how many times they tell you they are, they're not. That's a red flag. I've done a video about that. Have boundaries. Keep them in place. Don't be afraid to say, I don't feel comfortable having that conversation at work. I don't think it's an appropriate conversation for work, and remove yourself. Or just say nothing else. There is nothing that makes a certain demographic uncomfortable more than our silence. Okay? But that's why you need to exercise your silence. Don't say anything. A lot of them are very stressed out just at the prospect of Black people, and especially Black women, saying that we're going to take a break and rest and that we're not going to engage with them. They don't like that at all. Why is that? You got each other to engage with, right? So why are you so concerned about us not engaging? Why? Right? I think that this is the perfect time to be very, very careful about how you engage at work and making sure that you keep things professional, that you carefully, anybody says anything wild or weird, write it down. It might be nothing, but then it might be something that comes back later. And be very careful about conversations that you have that are not related to work. Keep the conversations about work. Be professional, be friendly, smile, but have boundaries, right? So I hope that these thoughts are helpful to you guys as you're back in work post-election and, folks are, coming in and they got their little hats and their flags and their whatever. You're going to have to just ignore people a lot, but document things that people say, right? And be very careful as we're going into holiday season and you get to these parties and people be drinking and saying stuff that they shouldn't say and doing things that they shouldn't do. Don't be one of those people. But document anything that occurs, but don't be one of those people. If everybody's having 3 and 4 drinks, you just have one, or just abstain altogether. Always be in control of yourself at work and in control of your emotions at work, and keep things to being about work and not about other things, right? Keep your personal life separate from your job. Don't discuss your politics with people at work. Mind your business. Drink your tea and your coffee in the morning. Do your job and go home. I hope these words are helpful. As I always say, HR is not your enemy, but they're definitely not your friend, but I am. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.